it's 9:46 p.m. First week of January 2020, and we're just getting to review Sarah's scan. This morning I've done a report about half an hour before we actually got together and do the session with Ezekiel. And like I was saying, I generated her report. I'll touch on that in a minute, but what we're doing now is getting back to the report and doing a before and after, and going back and scanning once again every intrinsic data field that had come up on the initial report, and we're gonna see some tangible proof of the improvement or what sister is sharing with us that she experienced and how she's feeling. So today at 10 o'clock we got together, Sarah, Ezekiel, and myself at the shop, and Sarah and I have been working with some sound therapy and some light therapy through photobiomodulation. I previously created a scan, generated a report to get better understanding of what intrinsic data fields need balancing. And so through the session, then I do sound bathing and facilitate the light therapy, specifically of those intrinsic data fields. And in this case, we asked Ezekiel, because we've been working for a while, and I asked him for his assistance in the modalities that he does to help us take it to another level. So Ezekiel did some solfeggio notes. He worked with the focal crystal. He also had a grid of his AU plasma in other plasmas that he had created, some plasmatite tools, regalia, and some of other of his tools. He can go more in depth on that. But anyhow, so this morning when I was scanning, my focus for the session was to be shown truth, like deep truth of where we at and where to head, like where to head and what to work towards. So I started with her biofield system, like I typically do, and this morning overall biofield system scan have given me a reading of 83%. And the biofield system, for the ones that are not very familiar with, I call it your body of light, which encompasses all energetic centers as your chakras, meridians, elements in the body, and polarities and vortexes and vitalities. So right now that was 83.3 as an average, and then we're gonna go deep into the biofield system. And now as 9 o'clock, 9:50 at night, and the biofield system, I'm getting a reading of 89.7, so close to 90. And if we go into the biofield system, we're looking at the physical vitality, which this morning, the before, was at 74.2. Remind you, all these are positive intrinsic data fields, so we'll like them ideally to be closer to 100, and 74.2, and the after 89.2, almost 90. That's a good 15 points of improvement.
8 hours after treatment.
Yeah, The before was 74, the after 89. That was on the physical vitality. Etheric vitality 74.7, and now 90.90. Her emotional vitality was a 69, and now I'm getting a reading of 91.7. Her mental vitality, as it read this morning, at 79. And now I'm getting a reading of 88.7, which the combination on all of those vitalities this morning read at 78. In the after, overall vitality at 93. Damn, she must have told really good. So after scanning the overall vitalities, subtle bodies, we're gonna jump into the chakras. And this morning, starting from the higher crown chakra, we were reading an amplitude of 77. Now her crown chakra has gone up to 88. Her brow center, or third eye center, as her center of inner guidance and honoring that true self and intuition. This morning was reading at 68.9. Which that reading is pretty much kind of showing that there's a desynchronization between the guidance that she's getting in this case and how she's honoring and acting upon it. So there's a disconnection there, and that's where such a low reading comes from. You're being shown what to do, and you're not really taking action or hands on the matter to change the outcome. So we went from the third eye 68.9 to now the third eye, and I measured it like 9 times now because it's really crazy. It's at 93.6. So
she told you what she had seen?
Yeah, she said that she experienced some images, like a really clear play of a movie and images in her head. Like she had been shown where she was heading, like a pretty clear image of where she was heading. And yeah, from the third eye we moved to the throat center, which this morning was reading the same as her third eye, 68.9 over 100, and now her throat center is at 95%. I think these are the higher levels I had ever scanned before. Her heart center this morning was reading the same as the third eye and the throat center at 68.9, and now the heart is reading at 94%. I just did it twice to make sure I was getting it right. From third eye, throat, heart center, solar plexus 68.8, reading this morning before the session, and now I'm getting, well, that's funny, the correlation, now I'm getting 93.5. So pretty much this morning which I had not really repaired on early in the morning when I was doing this, but I had just commented that the third eye, the throat, the heart, and the solar plexus, they all had the same reading. And when I just did the after the session, now pretty much they're all so close to, like, average is like 93.5. They're like 93.6, 94.9, 93.8, 93.5, like 93s and 94. So really evenly they balance and synchronized. It's not that one has been more exacerbated or stimulated than the other chakra, so that's really nice. So we did the solar plexus and the sacral plexus. Looked fairly good. This morning at 79.1 compared to the other chakras. Who likes? And from 79.1, now I'm getting an amplitude reading of 90. And the last but not least, your root chakra from 66.5 to 92.4. So it's safe to say that all of the chakras except for the crown are above 90s, and the crown is 88.3. So other concepts that this morning had come up was coordination and her auric fields. So I'm just gonna scan that now real quick. This morning was at 71.1. I just read 92.2. There was some aura disturbance that had come up, intrinsic data field, 25.4 as a negative intrinsic data field, so we would want that closer to 0, so 24. And now the aura disturbance had gone down half at 12. Negative influences at 40 over 0. I'm gonna scan again. 11.9. That's a third. So left. 4. Her overall aura was at 58% this morning, and now I'm getting a reading of 89.6. So after scanning all of her general vitalities and her energy centers, then we go deeper into the meridians. And in this case, as the only meridian that had been needing attention just for the soul matter was the pericardial meridian. And the pericardial meridian, it's called the bodyguard of the king, meaning the king is the heart and the pericardium is the sac that protects the heart. So it's like a self-defense mechanism, like a barrier that we put up to protect ourselves from solely emotional matters and things that over fluctuating and emotions and ups and downs and whatnot, it can eventually affect the physical heart. So in this case, her heart is perfectly fine, but the pericardial meridian has been the guards had been put up, and the pericardial meridian has lost its strength and energetics, so it's needing some attention. And in this case, over 100, I'm getting a 66.6%. And now, so this morning, 66.6. It is a positive tuning. All the meridians are positive tuning. So 66.6 over 100. And from 66.6, I'm getting a 93%. So all of that is comprehensive to the biofuel system.
Go into our nutrients for me, please.
Go into what?
Our nutrients and minerals. Did you do that this morning?
No, I hadn't. I had scanned the musculoskeletal system, psychological system, herbs, and flower essences. Do you still want me to do the aminos?
No, just cross-check those that you did.
Okay.
If you would, please. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, like I was saying before, all of that, what we just talked about, had to do with the biofuel system. So, like I said earlier, that's the program, and the biofuel system had given me a reading of 83, but that's an average of all those intrinsic data fields that we had just gone through, and we from 83% to almost 90%, 89.7%. So that's great improvement. Then another thing that it asked to bring focus into in the session and work on and needed improvement was her muscular skeletal system, which is also linked to her root chakra and all the solids in her body, or so-called solids in the body, like muscles and bones. Sarah has been having some pains and tensions in her physical body, in her muscles and whatnot. And the scan this morning had given me a reading of her overall muscular system and skeletal system at 67.6, and I'm now getting a reading of 92. Yeah, I scanned it 3 times. So that's another system, her muscular system. In the muscular system, we had brought some attention to her spinal cord, her neck. She's had been experiencing some stiffness in her neck due to a series of unfortunate events, and stiff neck would be a negative tuning, and this morning was reading at 39.1, pretty high imbalance.
We've noticed anything over reaching 20 or above 20, the person or object is embodying, our client or human being or living beings embodying that.
Indeed, and in this case, after the session, I'm now getting an amplitude reading of 6. So from 39.1 of holding tension in the neck and tensing herself up, from emotionally to physically throwing the body out of balance, from 39.1 to 6. We can ask Sarah in the next few days too if she had felt any relief on whatnot, or she's still. I can tell from the amplitude reading that she shouldn't be embodying that tension or stiffness in her neck. Hopefully she acknowledges the change. Impinged nerve, lower back pain. So those are concepts that I had scanned. All these are negative tunings. So this impinged nerve. From 15.9 to 7.9, lower back pain, from 38.5 as the negative tuning should be at 0. We want it at 0. The same with impinged nerve and stiff neck. And from 38.5 to 7.8. So that was for the skeletal and muscular system. Then her psychological system have been brought to our attention in the session. Her psychological system had come up at 56% over 100. That's a positive program. And in the psychological system, different positive emotional states had been suggested for her to achieve and get closer to, such as ecstasy, emotional stability, enlightenment, higher consciousness to be gained, honesty within herself to be promoted, fear to be released, working on the root chakra, more confidence, heart chakra to be open. All of these intrinsic data fields that I just read, they all read in the 60s and 50s today. So ecstasy as a positive tuning, I had a reading this morning of 62%, and we want it closer to 100. We want somebody to be embodying a natural ecstasy state and joyfulness. And for that, the reading would be 80 or closer to 100. So if I'm getting an amplitude reading in an ecstasy state of 62, the person is yet ways to feel it and experience it or embody it. And in this case, I'm getting a 95%. So from 62 to 95% on an ecstasy feeling. Emotional stability to be gained at 59. And after the session, emotionally 94. Enlightenment to achieved at 66 over 100, and I'm getting a reading of 94. 94.5. Higher consciousness to gain. It's reading 94.7 right now, and this morning it read 62. Honesty to promote. I read 65 this morning, and I'm getting 89.8. Fear to release at 54%. And now I'm reading 91.7. Root chakra to be open. 90% from 56.4. Confidence to embody. 88%, and this morning was reading 58%. Heart chakra to open. Positive tuning at 88% from 58.5. Stubbornness to be released. 96% over 100, and this morning it read 64.7. Self-image to be improved from 58.3 to 93.6. Relaxation to promote from 56.6 over 100 to 88, 89. Well-being to gain. all of these are positive emotional states. So they're over 100. It's reading at 93.6. And it was a 62.2. Theta brainwave to induce this morning was reading at 64.9, and now it's 94.4. Tension to release, now reading 95.8, and this morning 56.4. And support to gain, and that goes hand by hand with the root chakra and her muscular system. Support to gain at 90%, and this morning was reading 64.2. So all of that had to do with psychological system. I also scanned real quick psychosomatic symptoms. In this case, the neck, like stiffness of the neck, had come up in the skeletal system. In this case, psychosomatic unwilling evolution connected with the neck, and skin imbalances as a form of protection. So these are pretty much the last tunings, and then it comes the flower essences and the herbs. But for the skin, the negative tuning was reading 40.5. And now it's reading 9. And her neck, five, it's reading right now, and it was reading 50 this morning. That's a negative tuning, so definitely all that tension was super tangible, and she was.
Or I was telling you where I was working at, in places where I showed you on the body. You understand what I showed you before you see?
As far as alternative medicines and flower essences and herbs as positive ways of going about helping yourself for all of those intrinsic data fields that had come up throughout the scan. In this case, well, that's interesting. What was suggested for her as an herb? What have we been saying? Do you want to keep going in circles? Do you want to keep going in circles? Do you want to keep going in circles? The herb that is suggesting for her is antiperiodics. Prevent regular recurrence of disease. Eucalyptus. That's beautiful. And I did not read that this morning. I read the antiperiodic, but I didn't read the recurrence of the disease. And this morning, that's a positive tuning, so we want it closer to 100 that we can. In this case, was strongly suggested for her as 65.8, and I'm now getting a reading of 94.8, meaning that if she were to take it or work with that herb or whatnot, she's closer to that resonance and embody it that already and overcome it. So she wouldn't need as much as she would have needed of that energetics earlier today. Okay, and
so all she needs is just a little drop or a thought of it.
And the last but not least, two of the intrinsic data fields is the flower essence for the psychological system. So we're done? For the psychological system, it's hyssop, flower essence, and for what we have read this morning was very much like the eucalyptus, for cutting with self-limitations and empowering oneself to thrive through change. So stop from stopping yourself from change and growth, and that's the flower essences consciousness that was suggested for her. So what I did after the session was I programmed, what did she call it today? Tonic. I programmed the water and made an elixir remedy for her, and that's what she got sent home with. Out of her inner being. I program it.
What is the intrinsic field for the hyssop?
Oh, the intrinsic data field for the hyssop was 57.1 and 95.8. It's ready now. And that, my friends, it's another beautiful.
Somehow the intrinsic data fields of that which was needed was given to her through the plasma and through yourself. One corrects herself through intrinsic.
Mm-hmm. May have not specifically those frequencies being facilitated to her, but whatever realignment that has been done got it to where those may no longer be needed, you know, because it's just wanting to back in resonance. As what I mean is the eucalyptus energetics or consciousness may have not been facilitated in the session per se, even though I had done the light therapy, so that played a role and had to do. But in this case, some form of energetics that would have to do with the part of the antibiotic preventing regular recurrence of a disease and finding oneself in that cycle has already been addressed. So if I were to scan again on herbs, these won't be suggested for you, because this had been taken care of. This has been already through the modality and what it got done in the session itself. To my humble understanding.
Where does that come from? If those fields aren't there, they can only be generated if it's there. And the SE-5 is not able to do such.
You're saying the SE-5 does not work as a tachyon. The tachyon does.
But I'm not saying even the tachyon does not do such. They work on the same plane, it's the same name. The tachyon wave is the same as a scalar or a Tesla wave or a Hertz wave.
But for the scalar wave to be sent out, it has to be put
in. You got the same results when you scanned my mother.
The high results. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of getting it.
And I didn't have her present. She was in Reading and I was here.
Mm-hmm.
All I did was direct something. Plasma. And directed it to her.
Mm-hmm. And she got such high readings too.
Mm-hmm. Just like now with this weather, she hasn't asked for a balance or nothing, as she wrote. That's why I asked. Our conversation before the video for this. we thank you all for being a part. We are going to have conversation between each other. Love and light. Thank you for being a part of our learning and letting us be a part of your learning and healing process as we work together. We're so humble and I don't have the words. Just humble and give thanks. Be a part. Love and light.